Jai Hind and Puttand Nalvarthagal. I have to say that because I am in Chennai and in conversation with somebody with whom I've been waiting for a long time to sit down and have a chat. Gurumurthy sir, Namaskaram.
Namaskaram.
Thank you for your time.
I'm happy you are in my office.
And I'm happy to be in Tamil Nadu and also at the occasion of a festive occasion across the country. Let's start from there. If our festivals are similar, Gurumurthy sir, and on the same day across various parts of the country they are celebrated, so does this idea of a nation, is this not something which has been handed down to us over centuries? Or is it only the RSS that thinks of us as a Hindu Rashtra?
You see, most people do not know if there is any geography in the whole world which has been defined as to its borders, and the inhabitants are defined as to what they are. It is India. You take any Purana, there are 18 Puranas. In 7, Bharatavarsha is defined, 7 or 8. In Brahmanda Purana, it says that in the north it is Himalayas, in the south it is the 3 seas, in the west it is Devanas, in the east it is Kiradas. The nation in between is called Bharatavarsha, and the people inhabiting this land are called Bharatiyas, and they believe in karma and rebirth. So India is not a new idea. India has been a self-renewing proposition.
Correct.
In fact, I would like someone to read the history and culture of Pakistan in Pakistan government website, which is not allowed to be downloaded here. I have read it, I have downloaded. It talks about Takshaka as their forefathers, Takshashila University, where Kautilya taught, where Chandragupta Maurya read, where Ashoka was a student, and how Kautilya and Alexander had a conversation. And he asked about how you can invade a country simply because you have a big army. That's not our culture. We give notice to the other side. And he explained our concept of war. And of course he orders his arrest and he escapes, and he finds that we have a new kind of enemy to face, and that is how he structured the new concept of Arthashastra, where he moved away from what Mahabharata would say as the Dharma Vijaya to Lobha Vijaya.
Lobha Vijaya.
That is, acquisitive war is necessary to build empire. Before that we never had the concept of acquisitive war. Now I will go to 4 persons whose credentials cannot be questioned, who have endorsed this concept.
Okay.
First was Aurobindo. In his Uttarpara speech he said very, very clearly, Sanatana Dharma constitutes the foundation of Indian Hindu nationalism. Hindu nationalism and Sanatana Dharma are one and the same. If either of them can perish, India can perish.
Yeah,
nobody can dispute Aurobindo. He was no RSS man. He had no agenda against anybody. He had a global vision.
Correct.
He saw humanity as one consciousness. Why the Indian political thinkers can't discuss Aurobindo? Because if they discuss Aurobindo, they cannot practice dishonest politics. Then you come to Mahatma Gandhi, who wrote that famous Hind Swaraj, which was an imaginary conversation between the reporter and the editor, he doubling as the editor and the reporter. The question that was put to the editor by the reporter Gandhi, to the editor Gandhi, Mr. Gandhi, what are you saying? We are one nation, one country. It's all the Britisher who through their railways and post office turned us into one nation. And you talk about India as a nation and all that. To which Gandhi gives the simplest explanation. He doesn't get into great complex theoretical formulation. He looks at the practical situation in India. He makes 3 points. One, he says that the British could turn India into one government because it was a one nation.
One nation.
Very simple explanation. Second thing he says, that our forefathers knew that you could worship God in your own home, in yourself. You don't need a God outside. You certainly don't need places of worship. But they established these Char Dhams and they made Ganga such a special aspect of our civilization. A Ganga at home is considered to be something precious all over the country. And people moved in millions from one place to the other without anybody disturbing them, actually people receiving them. And in this sense, we were one nation in the sense in which no two Englishmen are. Can you question Mahatma Gandhi?
Yeah. There was no RSS then also.
There was no RSS. RSS did not propound anything. I'll come to it. Then the reporter Gandhi didn't leave the editor Gandhi like that. Now Musalman have come. What you are giving is a Hindu explanation. What about this? He said, introduction of a foreign religion does not alter the character of a country. We must have the capacity to assimilate them. Assimilation is the sense of nationhood and democracy. Without assimilation, there cannot be either a nation or a democracy. Then you come to Pandit Nehru in his Glimpses of World History, which is one of the most contemplative literature that Jawaharlal produced. It is not one of those evening letters. He said that it is not possible to draw a line between Hindu nationalism and Indian nationalism because India is the only country of Hindus. Very practical way of looking at how you align a nation and people on a territory.
This was sometime in the 30s?
1935. Then he goes on to say, Swami Vivekananda expounded articulated powerfully, uses the word powerfully, the concept of Hindu nationalism, which is not against anybody. He accepted the concept of Hindu nationalism as not being against anybody. This is, somebody may think it is against them, but Jawaharlal Nehru did not think it was against anybody. Now you can see broadly the Congress and the freedom fighter school of thought accepted this. Now you go to Rajni Palme Dutt, an Indian brought up in England and who formed the British Communist Party. He wrote a book called India Today. It was published in 1939 and it was revised and published in 1973. He didn't change one word in it. And I must say even Mahatma Gandhi, because it was this Hind Swaraj was so heavily criticized by including Nehru, he wrote in 1929 and then in 1939 when the ban was lifted. It was kept banned between 1909 and 1939 with the British government. It was only during the war they lifted the ban. Then Mahatma Gandhi said, I have read and reread it, I don't want even a comma or full stop change in it. See, this is how nation builders think. They don't change their opinion from election to election, which is advantageous, not advantageous. These are some eternity they see in these thoughts. And Rajni Palme Dutt, 1939 he wrote the book, 1973 it was republished again. He said, you see, at that time the criticism of the Indian freedom movement by the British is that it is, we gifted the freedom movement to you. We educated you. You got the idea of freedom through us. Otherwise you would have continued to live as slaves. So, for you to become a free country, we are the source. To which he writes a critique. He criticizes this and says, gentlemen, let's assume you had not taught us English at all. We would still have got the idea of freedom from the isolated Veda Padashalas, and the Vedas and the Upanishads would have given us enough ideas and slogans for freedom. This was Rajni Palme Dutt in 1939. Do you see any different ideology communist ideology, a global ideology, not rooted in this country, assessing India differently from either Vivekananda or Aurobindo or Nehru or Gandhi. This was a settled position in India.
So what changed?
And nobody disputed it. Everything changed on one event, and that was Jinnah passing the resolution for partition in 1940 in Lahore. Everybody dropped the word Hindu and ran away. RSS did not. In fact, RSS was very much in the thick of the freedom movement. In 1931-30, when Dr. Hedgewar, who went to jail for a year and came out, the person who presided over the function, public reception, was Motilal Nehru. There was no difference.
Let's look at what's happening in Tamil Nadu. Now, if this is the land of Subramaniam Bharati, this is the land that talked about nationalism, that talked about, and Bharatiyar, despite the kind of criticism that he felt, there have been huge amounts of national pride examples from this land. What is the current situation today? Why is the RSS facing so much opposition that you have to get a reprieve from the Supreme Court to conduct marches or to conduct your sabhas, public meetings?
Why talk about Tamil Nadu? Why don't you talk? This was the position all over the country. RSS fought against this inch by inch. Its battle was calibrated. One of the most successful, democratic, peaceful battles since it was banned in 1948. And like any organization, RSS has its own plus and minuses. I am not saying there is no human organization which can win the approval of everyone. For example, even when Rama was born in this land, he could not get the approval of everybody. Because human mind will always be able to find an argument against you, however great you are. So I am not defending RSS, but one thing is, the core idea it represented was left to RSS only. What the Congress did was the most foolish thing, that it handed over the pre-independence agenda to the RSS. So the RSS picked it up, had conviction in it, and generated strength, public opinion, and the first breakthrough was 1967, when the Jansangh formed political alliances with parties which would normally not associate with the RSS. And then in 1975, the anti-corruption movement, and a person like Jayaprakash Narayan saying, if RSS is fascist, I am too fascist. So this kind of thing began changing the discourse. So you can see the movement for or against RSS was political.
Even in Tamil Nadu and Kerala, is it political?
No, I am talking about the country as such,
where
the RSS had greater strength.
Correct, but I am in Tamil Nadu, we are in Tamil Nadu, so I have to ask you.
I am coming to that. So it is the Ram Janmabhoomi movement, which was aligned with the core idea of India as a Hindu country, or a Hindu phenomenon as the identity of the country, that aligned politics and Hindutva. So when Hindutva was made the ideological mascot of the BJP, and the political parties challenged it, then the Supreme Court had to see the truth. It is not the Supreme Court gave a political judgment. It gave a judgment looking into what is Hindutva. That it quoted all literature. 1976, its own judgment, that a Christian member can be part of a Hindu undivided family, because Hindu is a civilizational cultural term. So what all the politicians tried to keep aside was accepted. The gradual validation and mainstreaming of the idea of Hindutva, Hindu nation, occurred in 90s. All these are foundations. The struggle that we are undergoing in Kerala and Tamil Nadu is like the struggle that the In the whole country, the RSS underwent in the 70s, 80s and 90s. It's not something new. So, it was a gradual realization, and there was no violent revolution. So, it has now come to a stage where it is very difficult to say that there is no Hindu element in the idea of India. You may not like it, but you cannot seriously dispute it, and it cannot be invalidated, because this has not come about through any constitution amendment like socialism and secularism.
Correct.
This one. Now come to Tamil Nadu. Tamil Nadu has a very special character, because it is here the British experimented the intellectual division of India. You know, E.V. Ramsam Naikar had been part of the freedom movement. In fact, today only wrote about him in the Thuglak, that he participated in the Vaikam Satyagraha and all that. He ran a self-respect movement from 1975. But in 1944, he formed a party, Dravidar Party. Why in 1944? Because Jinnah had already asked for partition. So he formed a political party in 1944 asking for partition of the Dravidian states, only to ensure that there is enough trouble and confusion for the freedom fighters, and in making this country one. So the idea of the Dravidar Party is political. It's not cultural, it's not civilization, it's not ethnic.
But you're also saying it's rooted in secessionism, it's rooted in separation.
Secessionism is because, like the British promoted the Muslim League, you know.
So let's leave behind a split nation or a split landmass.
When the seat for partition was laid, many people do not know. It was in 1937 when the All India Sharia Act was passed. The long title to the act says, this act is being passed on the demand made by the All India Muslim League leader Muhammad Ali Jinnah. Have you ever seen a law saying this? And it says that all Muslims shall be governed by Sharia law, and all properties other than agricultural land will pass according to Sharia law. Why agricultural land? Because given a choice between agricultural land and Islam, the Jat or Kurmis would rather prefer agricultural land. You know, this was a political, this is not a religious proclamation, but a political proclamation to divide India.
But till the time of Kamaraj, and even at that time, C. Rajagopalachari, you had Sarvapalli Radhakrishnan, you had great thinkers, great leaders, statesmen, various voices who hailed from this part of the country. And I'm just taking a few names. There are so many other names who have come from here. Why were they not able to intellectually convince the people here? How is it that this entire narrative has moved away so much that today anything to do with Hindutva is scorned upon, and the outright narrative is that you are when they say about RSS and the BJP, they are Hindutva forces and Hindutva is wrong. So this Hindutva bashing is not just a global agenda, it's become an agenda here also.
No, I have a different view of it.
Ji.
You know, in Tamil Nadu, actually the fight, the division of the Congress in 1969 and earlier the divide between Kamaraj and Rajaji resulted in validating the DMK. The DMK's validation by Rajaji in 1967 was the reason why they acquired legitimacy. This was a political wrong by Rajaji, which he quickly understood, but it was too late by then, because Mrs. Gandhi had divided the Congress and one section of the Congress associated with the DMK in 1971, weakening Rajaji and Kamaraj together. So we handed over the political platform to the DMK and then the ADMK. But I can tell you one thing, the word Hindutva is politically unacceptable, but if you look at any state, all states in India, if there is one most Hinduized state, it is only Tamil Nadu. You know the kind of people thronging to temples here. for the Payani Kavadi, it used to be 10,000 people 30 years ago, 1 year, in a year. Now it is 3 lakh people every month and 1 million people every year. And for Sabarimala, nearly 1 crore of people go. And Tamil Nadu has completely become religious. So much so, both the Dravidian parties are now following the religious minded people of Tamil. They have to identify with them. Their ideology is gone. The anti-Hindu, anti-religious ideology of all the Dravidian parties is gone.
That's a very big statement that you make. Because
I see. I'll tell you. In 1960s, there was a complete alignment between the society and politics. Both were anti-North, anti-Hindu, anti-Hindi, anti-religious. Hinduism was sent away from Tamil Nadu in 1967. Today the society is Hindu. Politics is Dravidian. It is because there is no challenge to them. Like in Kerala, there is no communist. But the people challenging the communists are also pseudo-communists. The same ideology, same this thing. So the political polarization is only around who can capture power next time and be with them.
Correct.
So it requires a wider movement to make the people's true feelings to reflect in politics. That is the direction in which Tamil Nadu is going. Today whatever is happening in Tamil Nadu is like what happened in the country in 1950s and 60s. I may not live to see it. Maybe in another 10 years you will see a completely different Tamil Nadu.
But for that you need to have ground leaders. You need to have a groundswell.
There is no leadership amongst the Dravidian parties also. You are thinking there is leadership amongst the Dravidian parties. These are derived leadership. These are leadership, conferred leadership. So I feel no great future for the Dravidian parties. There will be a huge political upheaval in Tamil Nadu when a BJP kind of party rises, because most of the youths have stopped joining the Dravidian parties, which they have themselves acknowledged. In 2016, if I remember right, Stalin said, youths are not taking to politics. I only said they are not taking to DMK.
Many believe that there is this reluctance and this hesitance to believe in India because they don't see a possibility beyond Narendra Modi. So they say it's all happening because he is there at the helm. Once he demits office, if and whenever it happens, what next?
See, this question was always asked about India by the West and those with Western mind in India. Whether India will last after Nehru. What after Nehru? This is all because they all look at this country through a prism which has produced their history. You look at India from 1989 to 2014. We didn't have one leader except the period of Vajpayee. We had such rickety coalition, but India was not threatened. India's integrity did not depend on or get eroded by political fragmentation. This shows India is a strongly one country, that we have a hidden desire to live together. This is not the feature of any other country. 89 to 2014, we have 11 prime ministers and governments. So I am fundamentally India's unity and integrity is assured. Second thing is whether there is a leader. That would depend on the BJP as an organization. Congress produces leaders through the families. BJP produces leaders through its own process. But my view is, who expected a person who came from the Congress like Hemanta Biswa Sarma to do so well? Who expected Amit Shah to do so well? Who expected Yogi to do so well? These are all potentially, that is, the leadership can be thrown by the BJP. But today's leader cannot be a leader of only India. He has to be a global leader. So we are now in the league of electing people who cannot be merely content with being leading India. We have to lead the world.
So
there I agree with you. Whether India can produce a strong leader or not is independent from whether it can produce a leader of global standing. That's a challenge that I accept. But I think India can produce a strong local leader.
Local leader. But you say that the transition or the continuum has to be about global leadership.
Global leadership.
Not just local
For which
leadership.
the political discourse has also to change.
Change. I agree. Finally, something that we've very strongly articulated and spoken on my show on the Right Stand is about the culture quotient. There is obviously the counter narrative which says, oh, this is RSSizing, or the Hindutva agenda is there. You're trying to brainwash the generation. You're trying to impose religion and scriptures on people. The other thought continuum is Vedic knowledge, Vedic jnana is perhaps our own heritage. We need to bring it back. So where do you stand on this?
See, this is how discourse starts. This is how debate starts. Till now there was no debate at all. At least there is a debate starting. Take for instance yoga. 25 years ago, yoga would have been purely a communal phenomenon. Today yoga is a global phenomenon. So if India has to influence its people to the Indian way, the battle is at the global level. 5 Nobel laureates of science have said they find answers for quantum mechanics from Vedas and Upanishads. They are not fools. This is the answer. 5 Nobel laureates. You must teach the young that this is the view of the Nobel laureates. It's not some MP, MLA, or some mullah, or some church, or Shankaracharya. This is something very different. We have not adequately positioned the Indian civilization in the mind of the Indian people, and that is why we have this difficulty in making our own ideas palatable to our own people. So I am of the view, with the open communication, this 5% is actually a legitimization process, that this is legitimate. This was considered illegitimate in India. It is not that this is going to greatly promote, but this will legitimize. To that extent, this policy is welcome. But this is going to revolutionize and all that is not something which I agree, because it will again depend on the soul of India manifesting in variety of ways, which I have seen do, because 40-50 years back we were all spat upon. In spite of being a very important figure in India, a corporate consultant of high standing, people always treated me as an untouchable. We have moved far away from that position. So I am sure that we will continue to progress, because the world is sliding as compared to where we stand, because they have no central philosophy to run the world.
On that very positive note, on this very festive day, thank you very much for your time. Wonderful conversation.
Thank you so much.
I'm just going to take one promise from you, that we've got to do this more often.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.